You guys have any pop-up books you like? Can you guys hear me?
Yeah. What are some of the books people like? Why don't we start with this? Jen, why don't you show everybody your inspiration? There you go.
So here's my favorite pop-up book. This is Alice's Adventures in Wonderland. And this thing is massive. Now, this castle is not going to be as elaborate as this book, but this thing's pretty cool. It's definitely Zoe's favorite too. Do you guys have pop-up books, Jess?
We don't have any pop-up books, but we brought books to use as inspiration for our pop-up books. So
oh, yes.
You show them which book you're using for inspiration today. It's called Tacos 2.
Very nice. I love dragons and tacos.
Dragons and tacos.
Yeah, dragons and tacos.
Mm-hmm.
Right, it looks like we almost have everybody in. So we'll get started in just a minute by showing you guys what we're using today. We'll show you guys the where to find the project online, and then we'll get started. Let our host, Lindsay, know if you have any questions or you know, you want any clarifying points during our class. She'll be able to ask them out loud to us or answer. We'll also be recording this, so if you just want to watch today, or if you get behind or you don't have something, then you guys can totally go back and watch this video later and craft along with it. All right, so let's get started by showing them where to find the project online.
I'm sharing my screen. Now I'll screen. Okay, so you can find it here, and I'll have what to bring at the michaelskids.com. And if you need this, let us know and we can send the link to you. And it has everything that you need here. You can also, we have it here too, at michaels.com, again, with the Royal Castle book here on page 20 in the 100 Projects for Kids.
Yep, thank you so much, Lindsay. So the cool thing about the project being online is you can always find it. You can use it, have it pulled up. You can go along with the video if you don't want to craft with us today. It also tells you what kind of supplies you're going to need. So, you know, there's like glue and pencils and paper, obviously. I'm going to go through the supplies that I'm using today so you guys can see as well. So the first thing I did was I got some cardstock, just various types and colors. So I'm doing a nighttime. Here's my card. I'm doing a nighttime castle. So you can see the outside has, it's whatever color you want to pick. You don't have to do nighttime. You can do blue skies. You can do white paper. That's okay. And then I also pick cardstock to go down here for the moat and for the grass. You can do this for any piece of it. And then I used a white cardstock for the castle and the door here. So I've got my cardstock pieces. Again, you can use construction paper if you don't have cardstock. If you don't have that, you can use plain white paper. We have some printer paper here too that works pretty well. That's what my daughter's going to be using here for her castle. Then the other thing you're going to want is something to draw with. So I've picked our Crayola color pencils. You can use markers if you want. You can use crayons. If you want to get crazy, you could do this whole thing in construction paper, but you have to cut out everything if you do it that way. So then you're going to need a glue stick because we're going to do a little bit of gluing. So I just have an Elmer's glue stick here. And then I have a couple of the Crayola markers, and of course, don't forget your pencil sharpener for using pencils, and then a little bit of tape for the door. So instead of gluing the door, I use tape to hinge it on. Now, you don't have to do the door. You don't have to make it nighttime. Like all of our kids clubs, craft along with us. We're happy if you want to make your castle however you want, or as Alice is doing. Alice, you want to tell them what you guys are making in your pop-up?
Yeah, so I'm working on a piece, but Alice, from her book, her inspiration book, you want to show everybody the book you're using again for inspiration and tell them about it?
Dragons love tacos too. I like
That's
tacos.
Yeah.
And they like tacos. So I'm gonna make a taco castle.
Excellent.
I love it. I don't know anybody who doesn't enjoy a good dragon, and probably tacos too.
I mean, all in one. And this was my favorite book when I was a little girl. It's called Anne's Rules. And so I'm going to make, instead of a castle, I'm going to make Anne's house.
Oh, that's awesome. So why don't you guys tell Lindsay some of the things that you're making? If you're not going to make a castle, or if you are, let Lindsay know in the chat what kind of stuff that you're making so she can let us know. And I'm going to get started here on building our castle. So the first thing you want to do is take your paper that you're going to have be the background. So like I said, I want mine to be nighttime castle. So I'm using black. And this is just a regular 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper. And you're going to fold it in half so that the long side folds in half, like this right here. And crease it down the side. And then you're going to take your kid scissors and you're going to measure 1.5 inches in from the edge, like this. And then you're going to cut 1.5 inches long strip up into your paper. Now remember, you want to do this on the folded side. So see, this is your folded crease. That's the side you're going to cut. So again, 1.5 inches in and 1.5 inches up. And I'm just going to eyeball this. I'm not going to try to measure it. You can measure it if you want. I know about what 1.5 inches looks like, so I'm just going to make my cuts. And then you can open it, bend it back the other way so that you double bend that crease. And then when you go to close it again, you're going to pop this middle piece forward. See how it's making a little tent? And you're going to push the side pieces back so that when you fold it, this middle piece is coming out. So you just have to go really, really slow. And as you press it down, you're going to fold it in so that when you're done, this middle piece is sticking into the middle of the book. And you just want to bend it like this real carefully all the way along the sides. And you can kind of see what it looks like here. See how that middle piece is pushed in? This is what it looks like from the inside. And once you get it where you want it, then you're going to press that crease down. And that's what your castle's going to stick to. So that's why we have to do this part. All right, so mash it all down. And then when you open it up, you have this cool little shelf like this, and you're going to glue your castle to the front of it when we're done. So once you've made the inside part of your book, we can set that aside and we're going to make our castle template. So you want your castle to be wider than this little shelf, but more narrow than the outside piece of your book. So what I did was I just took my piece of paper and kind of laid it against the shelf. And then you can take a pencil and just mark where the edge of your book is on either side, like this. So see, I've made 2 marks right here to indicate where the edge of my book is. And the reason why I did that is if you make your piece of paper too long, when you close your book, it's going to stick out and you don't want that. So now I'm going to take my ruler. Actually, I better use my larger ruler here. If you don't have a ruler, that's okay. You can just use the straight edge of a piece of paper to do this part. And we're going to draw a line across, and that's how I know where to cut. So this is just cutting out the piece of paper that you're going to draw your castle on. Oh, that looks crooked to me. I am going to measure this one because I feel like it looks crooked, so don't want a crooked castle. How's it going over there, Jess?
so I didn't have cardstock, so I'm trying to figure out some ways to use more just construction paper and give it enough strength to kind of hold the book open. So I started by gluing 2 pieces of construction paper together to give it a thicker, kind of a thicker application. So if you don't have a cardstock, a heavier heavier type of paper, you could just glue a couple of pieces of construction paper together to start, and it makes your paper feel thicker, and it works the same way ultimately. So that was our little hack.
That is perfect. I think that's what we're gonna do with Zoe's castle because she's making hers out of printer paper. Okay, so now that I have my rectangle that goes in here, you can test it. You just lay it down in your book and close it. And if it doesn't stick out of the end, then you're okay. And it doesn't, so we're all good. All right, now set your inside piece to the side and you're going to draw your castle onto this piece of paper because then you're going to cut out the top. So the way I've done this castle right here is I've given it like a couple of towers over on the sides and then a couple of little blocks here in the middle. So that's what I'm going to do here. Now, you do not have to do your castle this way. You can put little spires on your castle. You can make a house like Jess or a taco like Alice or a dragon that pops out of a book. So whatever you're doing here, this is the time to kind of draw out your template so that you know what to cut out. So Lindsay, are we getting any questions in the chat yet?
Yes, there's some people who want to know if you could go over doing what you did with the black paper again, making the pop-up book itself.
Yeah, absolutely. So the whole piece of paper, and I'm just going to use the one here that I have. And you're going to fold it so that the long part folds over, right? So you're folding it in half. And then you're going to measure 1.5 inches in from the edge and 1.5 inches down from the side that's folded, and you're going to cut a line. So what it does is it makes this piece come away from the paper. You're going to do that on both sides. And then you can fold your paper back the other way because you're making sure that it creases both ways. And then when you bring the book back around, you're going to push this middle portion out so that it sticks out and the sides go back. So it'll look like this when you're, I'm not doing it down, but it'll look like this when you're done. It's going to have the long side of the paper coming down and out, and then the middle part that you cut is going to come in like this and create this little, it looks like a seat or a shelf inside the book. And then just make sure that it folds right where your cut marks are on the sides. And once you do that, then you can crease it on down tight with your fingers or your hands. You can rub it against the table like that. That's going to create the little shelf that your castle is glued to. And the way we measure the paper for the castle is, again, you want your castle to be wider than the shelf, which is this, but more narrow than your book. So you want it to have some black on the sides here, but you want it to be wider than this part here. And then you want it to be short enough that when you fold your book over, the white part doesn't show. So that's how you measure out your castle. And I would say that the white piece of paper, my white piece of paper is roughly 6.5 inches wide by 3.5 inches thick or tall. So if you're a measuring type of person, you can use 6.5 wide and 3.5 tall. All right, so did we ever get anybody telling us what all they're making? Is everybody making a castle along with me, or do we have people making other stuff like tacos and dragons?
We have some people making unicorns. Someone told me they're making a shark, and Swasti told me that they're making a heart for Father's Day.
Oh, that's awesome.
Idea.
All right.
I wish we would have thought of that.
If you're, do what?
I wish we would have thought of that before we started.
Oh,
A good idea.
well, now you know what you can do after kids' club.
Exactly.
You'll be practiced by then. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to make, my castle has these little towers on the side. So how I did that is I just used a ruler
That's kind of
and I kind of drew a very light line across the top so that I would know where
good faction.
the lower part of my castle is going to sit. And then you can take your ruler and go on the edges and kind of do the same thing and just go into this line here and do the same on the other side. And again, don't feel like you have to draw your castle just like mine. This is just the method that I used. The first one I did here, freehand. The second castle I did, I used my ruler. It works fine both ways. So don't feel like one way is right or wrong. It's whatever way makes sense to you. All right, so then I'm just gonna erase these little lines on the side. So now you can kind of see here on my piece of paper, I have outlined the top of the castle like you see down here so that you have the towers, and I'm just gonna make the blocks that make up the jagged top on the tower. And don't worry, you don't have to be
Making ice cream,
precise.
cookies, and houses and forests too.
Wow, you guys are creative.
Lots of great ideas.
Zoe's making a rainbow castle over here.
Who lives in your rainbow castle, Zoe? Who's going to live in that?
Who lives in your castle?
Your story.
Oh, her troll. Here, show her. Her troll.
I think that troll will love Rainbow Castle.
Here, you want to show? Look here. See, there's her rainbow castle. Oh,
Oh my goodness, Zoe, such good coloring.
there you go.
Awesome.
Yep. She loves her rainbow stuff. So do I. I can't lie. So here we go. We're making our steps here. And again, this doesn't have to be super precise. If you're going to make bricks on your castle, I would recommend using a ruler to make the lines and then just intersect. So what I did here was I just put down, again, I put down my ruler, and I used a black pencil for this, like a colored, black colored pencil, because it gives a nice dark line and makes it have a sharper edge. But if you'll draw your lines across, then it'll make it straight for when you draw your cross lines. And it's so much easier than trying to draw every individual block, which I did on one of my castles, and it took forever. So not my first choice. All right.
Mommy, can you help me out?
Yeah.
I started it. Okay. You don't have to get that.
Okay, so once you have your the top of your castle drawn, if you're doing the castle, you're going to take your scissors and you're just going to cut out the negative space so that it gives you those pointy tops. So I'll show you what I mean here. So you're just going to take don't use that one. You're just going to take your scissors and cut out these little sections in between like this. And then you can take the pieces of paper out and it's going to give you your castle top. So like this right here. Super easy. And then you're going to cut out the towers. So cut down that side line. And I did all of my, if you notice, I did all of my line drawings with the ruler before I did the cuts, because I found that it's easier to get them straight and not bumpy if I do this before I cut out the towers. So just my little hack. All right. So we've got our towers. Now we're going to cut out the middle part. So you can see this is what the towers will start to look like. Any more questions coming through, Lindsay?
If there's some people who are wondering what the measurements are that you use for the
For the castle?
yes.
So the width of the castle, I did 6.5. And the height of the castle, I did 3.5. And that was before I cut it any for the towers. So that's from the top of the tower to the bottom of the castle is 3.5. And then the width is 6.5. Okay. All right. Now I'm just bending down my pieces in between. You can cut these if you want. They're just kind of annoying to have to cut. So see, now I've made my castle. It's got my little towers up here. And now I'm going to draw the intersecting lines on the brick to make the brick. And what I do is I just pick a point to start. So you can start at the bottom. You can start at the top. Oh, and one more thing I was going to do. Let me show you how to draw the door before I get too far down the road here. So if you want a door on your castle, and there's nothing precise about this. Let's see. Oh, here we go. Here's my door. So all I did was I took another piece of my white cardstock, because you're not going to use the whole thing to make the castle. I just took a section of it that was in a strip, and I just rounded out one of the edges. So let's see, it's about 1.25 inches wide by 2 inches tall. So pretty small little door. And I'm just gonna lay it here on my castle. So that make sure that it aligns, the bottom of the door aligns to the bottom of the castle. And then I'm just gonna trace around it with my colored pencil. And then I'll know where I want to color in my door. Because this door that's loose here is gonna be the door, if you can see on the castle that's completed, this is the drawbridge. So when the drawbridge is up, you can see the moat goes all the way around the castle, and then you can put the drawbridge down, and that's how people come out. Or trolls, as is the case of Zoe's castle. All right, so I just traced here. You can see my castle, I just traced around the door, and then I'm just gonna color it in black in a minute. But first I'm gonna make my lines like we talked about. So I just pick a place and I start and I make my hash marks. So I'm intersecting these horizontal lines with vertical lines. And I don't know, they're about 1 centimeter apart. And then what you're gonna do is you're gonna divide that and go in the middle. So if I have 3 bricks up here, I'm gonna make them off center. So if I got 2 lines here, I'm gonna put 3 lines down here. And then the next one is gonna have two lines. So you can see how that starts to give you the brick pattern. So it's really easy to do. And you just have to pick a place to start and then make sure it makes sense as you fill out the rest of your lines. How's it going over there, Alice?
Awesome. We have progress on our taco. We've made a dragon. You want to show everybody? So wait, how you go? I'll hold so here's our taco.
Oh, wow, that looks awesome.
And then we've got
Taco have a door?
It does.
Oh my goodness.
Tacos. And then she's made a key to open the door on the taco. And then this is the dragon that's going to live in the taco.
Can you guys see the taco and the dragon, or is it still looking at me?
Oh, there we go.
Oh, there we go. Oh my gosh, the dragon looks amazing.
And we've still got our fixins in the taco, but
that is, you know what? You could make like a taco RV. It looks like a taco RV. That would be so cool. It would be like the Oscar Mayer Wiener car.
Oh goodness.
That's awesome. I love that. Good job, Alice.
My house is coming more slowly, so.
Yeah, she's.
That's okay. Not everyone can be a speedy crafter. I'm certainly not. All right, so I'm just drawing my intersecting lines here. making sure I alternate every other row to go in the middle. And this doesn't have to be super precise because these are just mimicking having bricks on your castle. And what you're gonna do in a little bit is you're gonna color in your bricks with a gray pencil. So you won't be able to see these lines too much. It's just gonna give you like a hint of where the brick is to give you that bricked castle effect. So don't worry if you feel like it's not super precise. It does not need to be. Mine certainly isn't. So is anybody else making a dragon for their castle? Such a good idea. I wish I'd thought of it.
I just picked a random book.
All right, I'm just coloring in the doorway black.
Oh, yeah, like this is the letter.
Questions coming through, Lindsay, that we need
Maybe
to
some tomatoes or cheese.
address?
No hops.
I think that you, some people would like you to go over the door again once you're done coloring that one in.
Yep, no problem. So if you're putting in a door, all I did was I took a strip of the white cardstock that I used to start my castle. And it's just like, I think we measured it to, it's 1 1/4 inches wide and it's 2 inches tall at the top of the arc. So all I did was took a strip of paper and then I just took my scissors and I rounded out the edge of one of the sides so that it gives you a curved top to the door. And then once I did that, I laid the door on the top of my castle in the middle and I traced around it with my pencil. And that gave me the outline of the door that I just colored in black. All right, now the next thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna shade in my castle. Now you can make your castle whatever color you want. Zoe has made a fantastic rainbow castle. I am going to make a boring gray castle. So what I'm doing is I'm just taking my gray color pencil and I'm lightly coloring in the entire castle. So what this is gonna do is it's gonna make it look like there's gray brick. That's why you drew the lines with black, because then when you color over it with gray, it gives it that cool old castle feel. And just kind of color, make sure you're coloring with the side of your color pencil so that it stays really light and shaded. And if you don't have color pencils, you can still make a gray castle. What I would do is I would take a pencil and using the finer edge, you can make the lines of the brick and then you can turn it to the side. I'll fix it. Then you can turn it to the side and you can shade it lighter, and that gives you the same effect as if you used a black and a gray color pencil. Do we have a castle accident? Do I need to fix it? All right. Tape fixes all things. Has the dragon eaten the taco yet?
We're putting our we're putting our tomatoes in the taco. So we've got our tomatoes.
Did you hear Zoe? She said, ew.
Don't worry, Alice doesn't eat lettuce or tomatoes either.
Yeah, Zoe and I do not like tomatoes at all.
Someday.
My baby brother and mama likes it, but we don't.
Yep, that's right.
We need
Alice, what don't you put on a taco for a dragon? What's bad to put on a dragon's
hot
taco?
sauce.
Hot sauce. You never
Ooh.
put a dragon's taco.
And that
Yeah.
giving fire emojis.
So what does a dragon really, really like on his taco?
Anything except hot sauce.
Well, they
That's
like
crazy.
not a good idea to give it to them. I think it's a problem. Yeah.
Oh, I see.
Let's look in the book. Let's look in the book.
Is that how they breathe fire?
It certainly helps. Yes.
I think my favorite taco is a breakfast taco.
Oh, so good.
This.
All right, so we are done coloring our castle here.
This is what this
So
will help in if your dragons eat hot.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yep, that is a lot of fire. Is that why you don't feed them the hot sauce? Gotcha. Okay. It's good to know. I would, if I run across a dragon, I wouldn't have known not to feed him hot sauce.
Charlie likes hot sauce on his.
I love hot sauce. Brushes. All right, so what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna color the door. Or this is the gate that comes down over the moat. So it's this piece right here. If you look at this castle, it's the door. And so what I've done is I've made black lines going horizontal. And then I've made a bunch of little brown lines going vertical against it. So that's the metal that holds the door and then the wood slats that go across the door. But again, like anything, you can make this however you like. So if you want a door with lots of windows, that's okay. If you want no door, that's okay too. This is your castle.
We had someone say that they are making a heart-shaped door.
Oh, that's so cool. All right, so I've made my black lines first, and now I'm gonna go through with my darker brown, and I'm just gonna make little lines all the way down, and this is gonna be like the wood boards on the gate. I'm just gonna do like 7 or 8 lines, and then I'm gonna take my light brown pencil, and just like I did over here on the castle, I'm gonna use the side of my color pencil, and I'm just gonna lightly shade all the way across so that the door becomes a light brown, and you can see the lines in between that look like the boards. So this is the cool thing about color pencils. You can make your lines dark, or you can turn that pencil sideways and do some really cool shading with color pencils. That's why I like color pencils. All right, so see, that was quick and easy. Got a nice brown door. And what we're gonna do now is we're gonna tape that door down to our castle. So if you don't have tape, you can glue it. Looks like my tape has decided to go off of the little cutter. So now I've got to figure out how to find the end of my tape. This is the downside of using tape. You can use, if you don't have tape, but you have glue, you can always cut a piece of paper and make like a flap and glue the flap to the back of the castle and then to the inside of the door. There we go. All right, now I got my tape going. All right. So what I'm gonna do is you can do this a couple of different ways. You can tape the inside of your gate, and this is how I did mine. So tape the back side of your door so that the tape is facing out. So when you turn the door over, the sticky part is on the outside of the door. And you're just gonna fold that tape all the way back like that. And then you can put it down on your castle. Just make sure that the door aligns with the bottom of the castle like this, and then just press it down. And what that does is it gives you this cool hinged door effect. So you can see your tapes on the inside. Well, you probably can't see because it's clear tape, but there's tape on the inside here, and you can kind of see it's shiny. And then it flops up like this. All right. Any questions yet, Lindsay, before I move on to the next step?
Do you have any tips for people who are going to use glue for the bottom of the door?
Yep. So let me find a piece of paper here. So just a scrap piece of paper. You just cut a really thin strip of paper. And what you can do is, you know how I put that piece of tape on the inside of the door? Instead of the tape, and let me cut this in half, this is too long. So instead of using the tape, you can take your glue stick and you can make a sticky side of this paper, and then you can lay that sticky side of the paper down so that it hinges the door to the castle. And then all you have to do is you take your colored pencil and you color the part of the paper that goes over the dark hole. You can color it black, and then you can just press it down, and what that does is it gives you this cool hinged door effect. So you can see your tapes on the inside. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna use the and it'll blend right in just like that. So then you won't be able to see it. All right. So now that we've made our castle, I'm going to glue it to the inside piece that we made earlier. So remember, we made the inside folded piece, and there's the shelf. So what you're going to do is you're going to take your glue stick and you're going to glue the castle to the inside of that shelf, just like that. So you can flatten it out, that works best. And I use the glue on both my castle and the paper. That way it makes sure to stick. So you're just going to run that glue all over just one half of this shelf. And then you're going to put your castle up next to it so you know where to put the glue. And you're just going to run some glue down on your castle. And then I found that if you make the shelf come up so that it sticks out and kind of attach your castle to it first while it's standing up, then when you lay it down, it's going to be in the right spot. Because if you're not careful, if you glue it down and your castle's not in the right spot, it's going to look funny when it opens up. It's not going to be even. So then when you've done that, you see how I laid this down and I just pressed on it really hard, make sure that glue sticks, and then see when you open it, you've got your castle. You can kind of stick your door up like this, but you can see how now as you open it, the castle comes up. All right, now let me get my glue. Now we're going to make the grass and the moat. So you can color if you've used white paper. Like I said, I did this nighttime one for mine, but you can use regular paper and color it. But what I'm going to do here is use colored paper. And I just took a piece of paper that's the same width as my card, because then it makes it a lot easier. So what you're going to do is you want your grass to come up just underneath your door. So when your gate comes down, it needs to overlap the grass just a little bit, because what that's going to do is it's going to make a connection here so that the door lays over it, and then when it comes up, then you'll see the water, and we're going to do the water in a minute. So measure it out, figure out where it needs to go, and the best thing I found is I take my door and I lay it, I fold my card up, and then I just draw a line against the edge of my card all the way down that green paper, and that's going to tell me where I need to cut. All right, so just cut out your green paper, and then just like we glued the castle on, you're going to glue that paper to the edge here of your card with your glue stick. So all the way across, your paper. And then I'm going to do a little bit here too on my card. And then you can just put your paper down, your grass, and just make sure it lines up with the edge of your book so that they're even. And then press it down. And all of a sudden you have grass, and it was super easy and you didn't have to color it, which is my favorite kind of grass. It's much better than the grass that's actually in my yard. All right, let me see that. Now the next thing you're going to do is make a moat. So the way I made my moat is I just took a piece of paper that was a little bit bigger than my card. I'm just going to trim off the side here. Or you can take a piece of paper that's the same size as your card. And then what I did was I slid it all the way up to the castle. And then where the shelf is, so this little black shelf inside, that's where you're going to make your mark on this blue piece of paper. You might have to lift up your castle just a little bit to see, but you're just going to make a little mark on the blue paper to show where that side is, because that's where how you're going to know where to cut. And again, you only have to do this if you don't want to color. If you've used white paper and you want to draw a moat, that works too. This is just my method for making my moat. All right, and then I took a ruler and I measured in. So from the edge of the castle into the black, or to the back of the card, it looks like 1.5 inches for me, but it may be different for you guys. So measure inside, and that's gonna tell me where to cut. And I'm gonna do the same thing on this other side. All right, so now you can cut out a section like this. And see how that's gonna make a channel? So it's gonna slide just under your castle, and it's gonna make the moat on both sides. So I'm just gonna cut out this middle piece here. Lindsay, any questions so far?
There's some people who are wondering if you could recap how to glue in the castle. And then we also
Wanting me to redo what?
just to do a recap of how the best way to glue in the castle.
Oh, okay.
And then we have some people saying that they turned their bridge into a slide.
Ooh.
And we have Andrew who's making a volcano, and you can raise and lower the lava.
What?
Wow, that's awesome.
Wow.
I love all
That
these
is pretty.
creative ideas. This is amazing.
All right. So I'm gonna take the moat and then I'll go through. Oh yeah, Zoe has requested to see the volcano. Can you hold the volcano up so we can see it? Let's look through it. Oh wow, there's lots of cool stuff out there. You guys can hold up your castles and I can see them. Oh, looks like we have some animals that people have made. Castles with rainbows. Oh, castles with people.
Oh my goodness.
Oh, look at that one. That one's got a dragon in it.
This is incredible, guys. Everyone is doing such an amazing job.
Oh, we got Jess, you inspired. We've got some houses out there.
Yay.
I want to see the volcano.
We're looking for the volcano. I'm not sure if whoever said that's holding it up. Oh, we've got some sort of RV. That's my kind of castle right there.
King of the road right there is what that is.
I know, mobile castle. Oh, we got yellow castles, rainbow castles, red castles, pink castles, blue castles.
And Mama,
Oh,
it's a dog.
there's a dog. This is awesome. Man, you guys have done a really great job. That is pretty fantastic.
I want to know where the volcano
I know, I didn't see the volcano either. That's okay. We know what the volcano looks like. All right, so once you get your moat cut out here, so like I said, what I did was I just cut out the section so that it slides around the castle. So now this is gonna slide like that, and it's gonna butt up against the castle. So you kind of see it's nice and snug, and you can see the blue on. That's like if the water goes all the way around the outside. And then the next thing you're gonna wanna do is just make sure that it overlaps the grass just a little bit. So I've got it scooched over here. You can see a little bit of the green grass. You want the blue to come over the green just a hair, just so that there's not a line. And then you're just gonna cut all the way down here. I'm gonna measure it on both sides actually. did you put an owl in my castle? Wow. All right, so let me measure it on this side. That way I'll know where to draw with my ruler. Okay. So then,
Hey,
did you finish your castle yet?
well, I just have to make the flag, but how?
You're gonna make flags for your castle. That's a great idea.
I need help making the flags because I don't know how to make one.
No
Because
problem.
They're supposed to be on the top.
Yep, we'll make some flags. I'll show you how to do that too. All right, so just cutting out the moat here. All right, so now when that's done, it's just gonna slide underneath and go around the castle like that. And then you can glue that down with your glue as well, once you center it. And then that makes your water. And when you raise your drawbridge, voila, you have your water. All right, so I think, Lindsay, correct me if I'm wrong, people want to know how to glue the castle to the back of the card.
Correct.
Okay, so like we talked about, the card has this little shelf inside. And so there's a top to the shelf and there's a side to the shelf. And you're just gonna put glue on the side using your glue stick. And then you're gonna put glue on the back of your castle. And then I stick it there, I center it and stick it there while it's standing up. And just make sure that it is setting against the bottom of the card. And then I carefully fold it down and press, and that sticks it to where I want it. So if you try to lay your card out flat and stick it down, then you run the risk of sticking it too high or too low so that when you close the card, it doesn't sit correctly. All right, now the last thing we're gonna do is make the star and the moon on mine. I think Zoe wants some flags for hers. So these are easy. I just cut my moon out of a little piece of paper. I just cut a small piece of paper out. You can use a moon template if you want. You don't have to do a sun and a moon. That was just what I wanted to make. And you're just gonna do a half circle here. There we go. And then cut in the inside like this. And then there's our moon. How's it going over there, guys? Do you have your taco and your dragons going on?
I'm done.
Really, really well. Okay, are you ready? Alice is done with her. She's ready to show her taco.
So I made a taco sun, and then I made the taco Dragon King.
Oh
Then
my.
I made a sour cream please. And that's
And then
That is so cool.
Anne of Green Gables house, and Alice drew Anne for me. So Anne is in.
What? You guys, that's fantastic. I love that. So creative.
what about this one?
All right, we are almost done here. So I'm just gonna glue my moat down like we talked about. Just put a little bit of glue on, slide it under the castle here, put it into place. And glue our moon and our stars on next. Okay. Now, actually, oh, there's my star. All right, so I can do a moon and a star here. So whatever it is that you're doing to decorate, you may want to draw your sky. That's okay. I've got my star and my moon. And then the very last thing we're going to do is we're going to put the outside onto the card. All right, so see, super easy. I glued my moon and my stars. All right, so the very last thing here is to make the outside. So because you don't want your card looking like that, that's not going to work, or your book looking like that. So I just picked a piece of paper that was slightly bigger than my card for this one. And you don't have to do this. I just did this because I know I can trim it down. But you're going to fold that piece in half. just like you did when you started. And then, like I said, mine's a little bit bigger on a couple of sides, so I'm just going to trim it to fit. And you can use, on my sample one here, I used the same size cardstock. So what you have happen is your inside cardstock sticks out a little bit when you use two pieces that are the same size. So if you don't have a bigger piece, that's okay. Again, you can just take your scissors and you can trim down the edge so it gets rid of that line from your inner piece of the card. So once you have your outside cut, you're gonna use your glue. And I just went on the black part here, go all the way around real good and do it on both sides. And that is going to glue your book together so that when you open it, it's just like this. All right. Any last questions, Lindsay, before we say farewell?
We have a few requests to go over the drawbridge one more time.
We have a request to go over the drawbridge.
Yes.
Okay, so the drawbridge, what I did was I used tape for mine. You don't have to use tape if you don't want to. You can use a piece of paper if you have paper. You can glue it too, but I found that the tape works best. So if you're using the tape, you can lay your drawbridge out like this so that it's flat to the door, and you can just put your piece of tape across here and then fold it up. If you do not have tape, you can take a small strip of paper and you can put glue on it, and you can stick that down to the inside of the door, and then take your whatever color pencil you use to color the inside of your door, and you can color that white strip so that it matches and you can't tell the difference. And then that will allow your drawbridge to fold up. All right. Well, guys, this has been an immense amount of fun. We're super happy that you joined us today for Kids Club. Don't forget, if you want to share what you've done here today, you can always use hashtag #MakeItWithMichael. So you can see it here behind me. And
Mommy, can you turn on my exam?
remember to sign up with us. We've got another Kids Club next Tuesday and Thursday, always at 3. So we'd love to see you. I think we're actually going to have some guests teaching next week that we're very excited about. Some of our very, very good partners in the drawing business will be joining us next week. So please tune in, make sure you sign up and get your spot, and we will see you all next week. Jess, Alice, it was
Hi
great.
guys, we had a great time.
We did too. Thank you so much. We'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.